Hello, it's Burgess Taylor, and today is Coffee Chat Monday. So I put the question out there in the group and one other place to ask if there was anyone who had a specific topic or specific questions they had for today's Coffee Chat. So this is what I got. This is what we're going to go with. Reading. Do you use an e-reader or an app? Your experiences. Choosing what to e-read versus the real books you like to collect for reference, for spiritual, etc. How do you choose? So how do I choose? As you can tell, I collect books. There are certain authors that I collect. Other books, like I'll read a romance or historical romances. I'm a big fan of Nora Roberts. I like a lot of different authors. With some books, I read them. I'll even collect the series. And then sometimes I'll give the series to someone else and pass it along and pay it forward. I've read them more than one time. I do reread books. Then I'll go ahead and donate them. Sometimes I trade books like that, romance books and stuff like that. Sometimes I trade them with people. I don't keep every single book. Lord, the whole house would be filled with books if that were the case, especially over my lifetime. But there are certain kinds of books that I do keep. There are certain kinds of books that I'll read with an e-reader. I have the Kindle app on my tablet, on my laptop, and on my desktop computer, on my phone. I have the Game of Thrones series on the Kindle. I have the book series, The Demon's Accord, that my son got me for my birthday. That's on my Kindle. There are certain books I will read. Books for reference, non-fiction books, I have a few, like 2K to 10K, I think, for writing or something like that. I have a few books like that that are on my Kindle. I have Miracle Mornings for Writers on my Kindle. Certain books. I'm not a real big e-reader fan, though. I do read on the Kindle, mostly when I'm waiting. You can read offline. Like, you can download the book into your Kindle so that you can read it offline. I have quite a few books that are on the Kindle like that, and when I was on the road with Mr. Rockstar, I would read from my Kindle. And you don't want to take a bunch of paperbacks with you when you're on the road because space is limited. So there are certain kinds of books that I do read on the Kindle. How do I choose? It really just depends. I like to hold a book in my hands. I like the smell of books, the ink and paper, and even the dust, I guess. I don't think it's dust. I don't know what that smell is exactly. It has to do with paper and ink, I believe, but I like books. I like big books and I cannot lie. I like real books and I cannot lie. I like books. And I collect all different kinds of books. So if you look right here, we're going to start with right here. That is C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia. And I also have the Screw Tape Letters. They're all the little paperbacks from when I was little, from when I was in this, I think those are from the 70s. I have some Shakespeare books. I have Kurt Vonnegut. I have Anthony Burgess's A Clockwork Orange. I have Slaughterhouse-Five. I have Love in the Time of Coleraine. I have Jack Kerouac. I have Peter Benchley. I have Cervantes. I have Wayne O'Brien. All kinds of books over there. Those are more of the classics that I read like in high school and in college. Bradbury, books like that. And I like literary fiction, but not all literary fiction. I love Slaughterhouse-Five. I like Fahrenheit 451. I like a lot of books, but I'm not a big fan of some kinds of literary fiction. I don't want to read literary fiction just because somebody says it's literary fiction, because I think there are some fiction authors that could very well write literary fiction, or that some of their actual works, to me, are literary fiction. Now that I've said that, let's go on to books I collect for reference. So books like this, books that help you inspirationally, motivationally, spiritually, that kind of thing. I like books like The Artist's Way and Finding Water, and I like to keep them. I will make notes, highlight. If I go through The Artist's Way again in January, which I'm thinking about doing, I will most likely use a different color highlighter and a different color pen. I haven't really written in this one, but we're just delving into this and I'm a week behind, so I may end up writing in it, highlighting it. I like books like this, The Psychic Pathway. I have a bunch of different kinds of books about psychic ability, and I love the paranormal. I like books like this, The Pagan Path. It gives you a history. It talks about paganism. It talks about a bunch of different things about it, the ancient roots from it. I like books like that. I like books like this, Astrology of the Moon. I have Drawing Down the Moon. Not a big fan of that. It's too technical. I like how she wrote this. I really do want to get Moonology. I don't have that one. That's on my wish list. I have books like this, The Element Encyclopedia of Birthdays. You can pick a birthday. Since today is September the 26th, we'll go with September the 26th. I'm a July baby. So here's September 26th. It tells you different things. It gives you the challenges, the people you're drawn to, the dark side, your best side, tarot card, lucky numbers, lucky days, lucky colors, birthstone, signs and symbols, your sun sign, your ruling planet. Gives you that kind of information. Now, I will tell you this because I had my birth chart done. And it doesn't, like, you can read whatever you want to read. This one is the most accurate one I found because July 23rd, which is my birthday, this says sun sign, and it says Leo or Cancer. A lot of people assume that it's Leo. My sun sign is actually Cancer. My moon sign is Aquarius. My rising sign is Leo. Very interesting, huh? Most people assume I'm an outright Leo. I have been saying for years I am both Cancer and Leo, and now I have Aquarius in that mix too. I like books like this, Everyday Witchcraft. It explains it in layman's terms. This is making time for spirit in a too busy world. I like history books. This is History and Magic of the Picts, Scottish Witchcraft, Dictionary of Dream Symbols. I'm reading these currently. The Way of Zen and How to Practice the Way to a Meaningful Life. These kind of have to do with Buddhism. I'm an eclectic hippie. My spiritual path is sort of open. I don't practice any one particular thing. I believe in spirituality. I believe in, people call them the wise folk, wise ones, wise women, healers, that kind of thing. I believe in practicing that kind of healing, herbology, that kind of magic. I'm not Wiccan. I don't know what I am exactly, except that I lean more towards a pagan path, definitely eclectic, and I have Buddhist leanings too. So I like philosophy books. I like books that are inspirational and motivational. This has gorgeous pictures and quotes. I also collect mythology and stuff like that. This is Hans Christian Andersen's The Best Loved Fairy Tales, Encyclopedia of World Mythology, The Age of Fable by Bulfinch, and then I also have Bulfinch's Mythology. They're two different books. I have Greek mythology. I used to have a hardback version of Greek mythology. I don't know what happened to it. I have The World Guide to Gnomes, Fairies, Elves, and Other Little People. I read a lot of different kinds of books. I read John Sanford, I read Jonathan Kellerman, I read Patricia Cornwell, I read John Saul. He, to me, is true horror. Read some young adult. I read nonfiction and fiction. I like other people's journals, like Sylvia Plath's journal, Anaïs Nin's journals, different things like that. I have quite a few of those. I've started a collection of those. I like literature. I have a couple of literature books that have a bunch of different kinds of literature in it from when I was in college. I like Jim Butcher. I like Charlene Harris. I like Anne Bishop a lot. I like Anne Bishop. I like Gregory Maguire, like The Wicked, The Lost, and A Lion Among Men, his books, fairy tale retellings. I'm an avid Stephen King fan, Dean Koontz, Anne Rice. I have the Harry Potter collection, all but this last book. I haven't gotten it yet. I read a lot of different books. I have an eclectic taste in books as well. I don't just read one type of genre. I like Nora Roberts. I like her as Nora Roberts and as J.D. Robb. I like a historical romance. I like anything I love paranormal. I like Patricia Briggs, Mercy Thompson series. There are a lot of different books. Yeah. How do I choose? For reference and stuff, that one's pretty easy. I like certain things. I love information. I love learning new things. So I have books about recipes. I will sometimes go to thrift stores and look through their books and find books for recipes, find mythology books, find astrology books, different things like that. I have quite a few other astrology books. I even have a book about poems and astrology. She wrote astrology books, and she's got a book about poems, and it has like poems from different signs. Linda Goodman is her name. A bunch of different things. I really like all kinds of, and art books. I have art books, books about drawing, and books about painting, watercolor, sketching, that kind of thing. I am a book fanatic. I have loved books since before I could read. Back in my day, we only had like 3 channels when I was little. And we got cable when I got up into elementary school, I think, middle school. But in the early years of elementary school, we didn't have cable, and there were 3 channels. And I remember watching Gilligan's Island after school a lot. But I would rather read back then than watch TV. There were only certain television shows that I really liked to watch, and since we didn't have very many channels, there wasn't a whole lot of options. But I've been reading since before kindergarten. I started out with like Dr. Seuss kind of books, stuff like that. I've been reading books avidly, definitely since about the 2nd grade, since when my father died. By the time I was in 3rd grade, towards the middle to the end of 3rd grade, I was reading at like a 5th or a 6th grade reading level or higher, depending on the kind of book it was. I'm just an avid reader. I've always loved books. Favorite author would have to be Stephen King or, believe it or not, J.K. Rowling. I really love what she did with the Harry Potter series. Patrick Rothfuss is up there in my top list. Jim Butcher, his Harry Dresden Files. I love the way he tells that story. I love the way he tells that story. There are a lot of different authors out there. I like Sherilyn Kenyon. I like a lot of different, yeah. It's going to be a 30-minute video if I don't stop. Basic, hardcore, down to the nitty-gritty. I do have an e-reader. I do read from it. That's actually my son's preference now, and my son collects books. He has not as many books as I do, but damn near close. But now my son has found that he can spend less money, and he can carry books with him in the e-reader. My son's pretty much, for the most part, switched to reading via an e-reader. My daughter and I both are more tactile. We like the book in our hand kind of thing, but my daughter does read from an e-reader. As far as reference and ritual and stuff and how do I choose, I will read reviews about books. I will read the Dusk Jacket, summary, synopsis, that kind of thing. And I'll read that, and then I'll read reviews, and that's how I determine sometimes what books I'm going to get. If a lot of people are recommending a certain kind of book or a certain book itself, I'll go look up the book and see what other people have said to see what the book is about. Thanks for watching, y'all. This has been one of the interesting coffee chats for me to make. I hope it was interesting for you to watch. Thanks. Bye, y'all.